The Wine Insiders present a lunchtime tasting at Blue Rock Vineyard in Alexander Valley, California. We join owner Kenny Kahn to discuss his distinctive hillside property and learn what makes his Cabernet and Syrah wine so age-worthy and delicious.
Hello, Hal.
Kenny, good to see you, my friend.
Welcome to Blue Rock.
Kenny, I'm thirsty for that new Syrah and Cabernet of yours.
Let's try the 2004 vintage, shall we?
Good. Yes.
People always ask me, they say, which wine should I start off with when they have the Syrah and the Cab? And in the case of Blue Rock, and I think in California in general, the Syrahs have a real voluptuous tannin structure to them, so they're more accessible than the Cabernet.
Okay.
So I always pour this one first.
All right. That's a pretty wine, Kenny.
Thank you.
How do you compare this 2004 to your last couple of Syrah?
I think it's a much more elegant vintage. It is a little bit more accessible. It's just fantastic with food. It has plenty of acidity. It has great balance, and it's really very food friendly. This is the 2004 Cabernet, and I decanted this morning. So this has been open for about 4 hours.
And why did you do that, Kenny?
Well, our wines they're very powerful. They're structured wines with a really good backbone. They're meant for aging. On the other hand, most people, including myself, have them pretty much on release. And when you decant them, especially several hours ahead of time, it really opens up the bouquet, it opens up the flavors, and it gives some idea of what the wine will be like when it's aged.
Do you have sort of a rule of thumb if someone's drinking a 2001 Blue Rock versus a 2003 Blue Rock, how long to decant or whether to decant at all?
With our wines, we always decant several hours before serving, whether it's the Syrah or it's the Cabernet.
So across the board, you think there's a benefit for any Blue Rock wine folks have in their cellars right now? Go ahead and decant it for a little while.
I'd say go ahead and decant it, but also drink it. You know, sometimes people hold the wines too long and they're waiting for that just magical moment, and then oftentimes can be disappointed because they've waited too long. So I always check in on the wine. You should have more than one bottle so you can check in on over time. Our style, our house style, is to be, well, always to represent the vineyard, because we are a state and we don't buy grapes. It's always from one small property. So as a result, there is a consistency and a familiar thread that runs through every wine.
Tell us about the Alexander Valley and how you ended up here.
Well, Alexander Valley is one of the 3 wine valleys that spawn off of the town of Healdsburg. Alexander Valley is north of Healdsburg. It is one of the warmer valleys. As a result, it's great for growing a diversity of grapes, but mostly the Bordeaux varietals.
How did you know you had some amazing grapes that people were going to be fighting over to buy later on?
When we started, we made the decision from the very beginning that we would always be a state. By that I mean that we don't buy fruit from anybody else. Blue Rock comes from Blue Rock. It cannot be imitated by another winery because it has its own aromatics, it has its own flavor profile, and it has us, working the land every year to make it better every year.
How would you describe some of your older wines, or maybe even like your first vintage?
Well, the first vintage that we made was 1999.
Okay.
And that wine is still a baby today. It's
really?
really amazing. And it was delicious at the time that it was released. I mean, we have so many fans of that wine, but it has aged fantastic. As a matter of fact, if you'd like, I have a bottle in the back, and I'd be happy to open up a bottle and we just check in on it and see how it's doing.
That sounds great. My glass is almost empty, so
okay,
I'm ready.
All right, let me get one.
Thanks, Kenny.
All right. So this vintage, the 99, I think vintage-wise is very similar to 2004. So
cheers. Yeah, it's evolved into a very elegant wine, I would say. It should be perfect with this food also still. So fruit is still a core component of it. So that's the fun part for me. So Kenny, here in the Alexander Valley, I guess Cabernet's king, right? Tell us about some of your Cabernet neighbors.
Well, directly next to us is, of course, Silver Oak Winery.
Okay.
Is our famous neighbor here.
Across the fence?
They are just across the fence. And of course, it's wonderful having Silver Oak in Alexander Valley. Alexander Valley has just a few well-known, wonderful producers. You've got Silver Oak, Jordan, but a host of new young producers who are really excited about what they're doing. They're getting off the valley floor and they're getting into the hillsides, such as Blue Rock. And they're making wines that have real personality and elegance, and I think you're going to see Alexander Valley wines much more often as being at the top of restaurant wine lists.
And how do you think your Cabernet compares to something like Silver Oak?
Well, similar in that, we're in the same neighborhood. The vineyards are right next door to each other, but very different in that we're a very small producer, so our production is, less than, a fraction of whatever Silver Oak is producing every year. Silver Oak is all American oak, and we are all French oak.
So Kenny, what a thrill to be here. Thank you for this tremendous lunch, and gosh, thanks for this tasty preview of your current wine.
Well, thanks, Hal. It was a pleasure having you, and to next year.
We'll be back.
Once more.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. To buy Blue Rock wines, visit www.porthos.com. That's porthos.com. For more exclusive interviews with the wine world's biggest stars, visit us at thewineinsiders.com. That's thewineinsiders.com. See you next time.